It's the Saturday morning Code-toon show, starring me, your pal Woldy. It's Saturday, lads, and that means you can kick back, watch some tunes, and do a bit of coding for fun. Today we're going to mess around with turtle graphics. That's right, friends, turtle graphics. We have a little printout for you on the home page. If you click on it, I have my printout right here. And we're going to type in a program today that's going to draw a star. It's going to be an animated star. But we're going to use something we haven't used before, and that is turtle graphics. So let me show you a couple of the keywords that you can learn that will give you turtle graphics. So let me clear the screen. And the first thing that you're going to want to do is see your turtle, right? So you can say show turtle. There it is in the center of the screen right there, the little guy. And the turtle can do a couple things. He can turn, right? So you can turn him. And if you know, like if you've ever heard 360 degrees, you can do a number between 0 and 360 degrees. So let's say he's going to turn to the right. So I'm going to go 90 degrees. Okay. And the turtle is holding a pen, and you can have him put the pen down, and he will draw lines wherever he walks. So let's put a pen down here. Pen down, right? Now, if I make him walk somewhere, he will draw a line. So let's make him walk 100 steps. Pretty good, right? And I'm going to make him turn 90 degrees again. And I'm going to change the color of the pen. So the pen can be one of our 256 colors. So let's make the pen red. See if I get this right. I think it's 15. All right. So pen color and a number changes the pen that he's holding, changes the color of the pen. So let's have him walk another 100. Aha! And I'm going to turn another 90 degrees. Let's make a square. Pen color, I don't even know what color this is going to be. Let's say 133. Walk 90. Purple. Oh, I didn't walk 100. I'll walk another 10. There we go. And then I'm going to turn him one more time, 90 degrees. And I'll walk him all the way up, and I'll complete our square. Let's say pen color. I really like yellow, but I can't remember what number yellow was. 72? Just another. It looks like a pink. Well, I got to learn my color numbers. Anyways, that is turtle graphics. You can cover the screen with lines, basically. You can do all kinds of fun stuff. I've written programs where I controlled my turtle with a joystick, and so it's like the turtle kind of like, I can make him weave and do all kinds of cool stuff like that. It's kind of fun to remote control a turtle. So, but anyways, if you want to clear just the turtle screen, you can do that by saying clear turtle, and that won't destroy any of the text on the screen. And so we use that in the program that we're going to make. Now you can walk the turtle around and keep him invisible. You don't have to show the turtle if you don't want to. I just like to see the turtle when I'm walking him around myself. But if you're going to make kind of a line arts program, you don't want this turtle flashing all over the place and zipping about. And so that's why I'm in my program I don't show the turtle. But Anyways, let's watch some tunes. I'm going to type in this program. And if you go to clubcompy.com, you can see the link for it, and you can type it in yourself. But I'm going to type this in. After the tunes, we'll talk about it a little bit, and then I might make some additions to it. So here we go.
I'm gonna shoot ye turkey for ye Thanksgiving.
Hey, turkey!
Well, what do you know? Another customer.
Gobble, gobble, gobble!
Psst. Hey, Junior, you want to buy a hot turkey?
Is it fresh?
Is it fresh? Look at that white meat. Look at that dark meat. Feel the material in that wing. Look at the size of that wishbone. You want to eat it here or take it with you?
Well, I don't know.
Okay,
but-
Junior, I'll wrap it as a gift. Here you are, pal. Happy Thanksgiving. Listen, Junior, you ain't never gonna catch me for no Thanksgiving dinner. Therefore, why don't we eat at Joe's?
Well, all right. We'll eat at Joe's.
Jeepers creepers, jumping G. Time for spring, time for spring. Go down sleepyhead, you be. Time for spring, I say. No more time to lay and snooze. Time for spring, time for spring. Not one speck of time to lose. Time for spring, I say. Hey, you down there, hear that bong? Time for spring, time for spring. Ground is low and winter's gone. Time for spring, I say. Let's get going, move 'em out. Time for spring,
as hard as you please. The more you pump, the more I freeze and blow. Blow. Your clock was wrong to start its spring. Before I'd gone, I'll blow.
Man the pumps and hold the slack. Blast that glowing buzzard back. Time for spring, I say.
Your hands were bumping so I'll have to leave my mouth of snow, but I'll be back with more to blow and blow.
All right, coming back, coming back. So, we have our program. It's typed in. I was just going to add a little spaces here. If you hit Shift Insert, you can insert a line. And I think Shift Delete will delete a line. But I'm just going to space these things out a little bit here so we can look at them. Okay. So, and first of all, also, if you're typing this in and you're going to like step away, right, it saves on your machine. It does not go to the cloud, right? So there's a chance for data loss. So, don't turn your computer off until it's finished saving, and, standard warnings. But here's the command to save. And if the stars align, so I'll reset here. So that was saving. So when you reset, it clears everything. But I should be able to load my star. Please work. Yes. Okay. And and then let's run it. Let's run it. So you may have seen when I ran it first, it was a smaller star. You can change the parameters of the star, right? So, but let me clear the screen here. Let me list this. I'll show you the parts of the code real quick. So you got just sort of a setup area here at the top that gives you, how big is the radius. And I kind of detail on the printout what all the different variables mean. But this one sets the radius so you can make a really tiny star, right? So you could make a star that's little guy. You can set the number of points on the star. This one's kind of interesting. So when I'm drawing the star, I'm just drawing little hats, right? And I go from one point to the other, and I just put the pen down, and I draw the line. Then I turn, and I draw the line. So to draw an 8-sided star, or 8-point star, which is this, I needed to step to the side of the point that I'm drawing from by 3 to know where to draw my lines to. It's kind of hard to explain, but if you play with the numbers, you'll kind of get an idea. And then this is the rotation speed, right? So if I wanted to rotate backwards, I think this will work. Rotate backwards really fast. I'll do 3. Okay, so I'm making a very tiny star that's 8 points. So a standard 8-point star. So let's run it. Oh, it's going so fast. It's so cute. Adorable. So, okay. I think my mic is a little bit hot here. Let me turn that down. Hopefully not too hot. Okay, so that's pretty cool. Right? Anyways, so these are the settings. Play with that. That's a lot of fun to mess around with. And then this section here is sort of the program before anything gets going. I needed to set up some variables. And so these are variables that represent calculations as we go. And then I clear the screen here. This v-wait false, this makes the program just run without ever taking a break. And so if you don't take a break, the program is never going to come back to you. It's just going to run forever like mad, right? So so look for where I make the computer wait. So this statement here says wait until the next frame. So we're going, 60 frames per second. This says, okay, do nothing, wait until the next frame, and then it'll continue. So that's what this v-wait false does. If you don't say v-wait false, then what will happen is it'll go really slow. You actually see the lines draw. Actually, why don't we do that? That'd be kind of fun. This will be fun. See how it's flickering? It's in the program is intentionally taking a break at every single spot where it's looping around. That's the logic of it, right? So whenever it goes backwards in the program, it's like, that's my chance to draw the screen, basically, right? But if you say v-wait false, man, it's just like Katie bar the door. Just go as fast as you can, which is pretty fun. When you're writing a video game, you have to say v-wait false. You basically have to say v-wait false. Basically. Kind of a pun. Those who know. So let's make it a big thing. Let's make it 100 and let's make it spin slowly ish. And all these lines, you can edit them, but they don't actually like save into memory and become part of your program until you hit the enter key on them. So make sure that you're always hitting the enter key on these things when you make edits to them. That's what I was doing when I was going down the screen there. So that looks pretty good. Like I said, play with it. I'm going to make some changes to this program. I want actually multiple stars. I want lots of stars. I want to push this thing to the limit. And I haven't actually written this yet. I don't know if I can do it. So we'll see what I can come up with. But I think that would be super cool to like just fill the screen with spinning stars. So we'll see what I can come up with. I don't know. No promises. But let's watch some more cartoons, and I'll get busy on that.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's Superman!
Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings at a single bound, this amazing stranger from the planet Krypton, the Man of Steel, Superman. Possessing remarkable physical strength, Superman fights a never-ending battle for truth and justice, disguised as a mild-mannered newspaper reporter, Clark Kent. Penetrating deep into the frozen wastes of the great Arctic plains, an archaeological expedition searching for prehistoric fossils makes an amazing discovery. A huge monster, as lifelike in appearance as when it roamed the Earth millions of years ago in the Mesozoic Age, is found frozen in the ice in a state of perfect preservation. Constantly handicapped by the hazardous sub-zero elements, the scientists and their band of tireless workers succeed in removing the mammoth creature from the frozen pit. The ice-encased monster is loaded into the hold of a huge freighter equipped with a special refrigeration plant and brought to this country. Here, in a specially constructed wing of the Museum of Natural Science, this awe-inspiring creature is displayed to the public for the first time.
And you mean to say that if the ice were permitted to thaw, there's a possibility the monster might still be alive? Thank you, Professor.
Yes, Chief.
Lois, there's a new angle on that frozen monster story. Get over to the museum and see what's doing. They've got him in a special refrigerator.
Okay, Chief.
Oh, Lois, want me to go over there with you?
No, thanks. You'd probably faint if you saw the monster. You scare so easily.
Maybe she's right, but Superman hasn't fainted yet.
And produces the necessary refrigeration. The control board is downstairs. I'll show it. The entire plant is operated from this board. The thermometer must be watched constantly, as any rise in temperature might prove dangerous.
Cut those switches!
Boy, what a story.
Outside, everybody. Step lively, please. Use the nearest exit. Please, folks, keep moving. We have to clear this room at once.
That's what he thinks.
Police headquarters. Hello, Chief. Send the riot squad. We're in trouble.
Hello, Planet. Give me the city desk. Hurry!
Some men down here. Attention, all cars. Proceed to 5th and Main at once. Chief, Lois is in the museum.
Better get over there, Kent.
Right. This looks like a job for Superman. Lois.
Superman.
You'd better get back to your office where you'll be safe. I've got some work to do.
Yes, sir. And this the best story in years? Swell chance.
Lois. Now this time, stay put.
Yes, my lord. And thanks.
You showed plenty of courage getting that monster story, Lois.
Thanks, but where were you?
Me? Oh, I must have fainted.
Well, I'm making some progress. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to capture every star. I think I need to put a little bit more stuff into this record that I'm declaring. But this star record is going to hold all of our stars that we put all over the screen. And then I'm going to rotate them all independently, and they're all going to be different size. And so I'm trying to capture all the information that would need to be there. So, for example, the radius of every star is going to be different, so I have to have a radius. And the center point of every star is going to be different, so I need an x and a y coordinate. So I think I need another one to manage the little line drawer. So I have a little bit more to do. It doesn't work right now. If I try to run it, it says variable not yeah, I'm not there yet. So let's watch some more cartoons and come back and see where I land. I think I'll get it. Okay, here goes.
Some candy for the picnic. Oh, thank you. And I brought some cigars. Have one, Popeye? Oh, thanks, Bluto. April Fool! Well, what do you know? April Fool. Oh my gosh, a blowout. Oh, no flats in front. Set the table, Bluto, and you chop some firewood. Okay, Olive. I'll chop some wood for you, Olive. Why, that no good runt. April Fool! You dirty rat! Popeye, where's your sense of humor? Got a match, pal? I lights the fire with me pipe. This gag will burn him up. Why, April Fool! I'd like to April Fool that guy. Popeye, would you mind serving the lemonade? April Fool! Oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. Hey, Popeye, come and get it. of a girl. That Popeye sure is a sucker for an April Fool gag.
April Fool. There's no fool like an April Fool. Just think, Popeye. Tomorrow is our wedding day.
Yeah, I can hardly wait.
Oh, it's getting late. Come on, Popeye, you must go now. Good night, Popeye.
Good night, sweetheart.
Honey, do you take this man to be your lawful wedded husband?
I do.
Popeye, do you take this woman to be your lawful wedded wife?
I do. I do.
I now pronounce you man and wife.
Aren't they beautiful?
My boys. Come on, up we goes.
Happy birthday, boys. Now make a wish and blow out the candles.
lover boy is ready to get married.
Popeye, I ain't gonna marry you.
Okay, coming back. So I think I got something here. I'm kind of happy with it. You can see here, like some of the stars are going slow, almost not at all, and some are going really fast. So I kind of did it. Let me show you here. I wanted to make them all different colors, but I ran out of time. So I typed clear to clear out the screen there. That clears everything, not just the turtle, but also clears the text as well. You know, I find that when I'm making edits to a program, it really helps to indent stuff, right? You can see here all this stuff is sort of indented, and there's you know, an end keyword, and it kind of brings it back to where it was. And I try to line everything up. It really helps me read it. I think everybody's got different styles of how to read their code. But that really helped me sort of debug this because I was missing an end statement. And so I kind of made sure I lined everything up, and that got it to work. But the real key to getting all those different stars of different sizes, and I can make the size difference a little bit more stark here. Let's go down to like 2 little guy, teeny tiny, 3, and let's make this smaller. Let's do 15. It might look a little bit better too, less overlapping, right? Yeah, that looks really good. You know what? I kind of wonder when this thing's going to break down and you know, turn into a molten pile of silicon and you know, electric sparks and stuff. So let's crank this thing up to 11, and let's really make a lot of stars. Let's make a ton of stars. I have it set to 40 right now. Let's set it to 4,000. It's going to break. It's not going to be able to do it. It's going to be horrible. It's probably going to just crash. Chunk. Well, it's going to be just, the screen's just going to be full of lines is what's going to be. Yeah, it's oops. Too many. Maybe 400. Let's look. Oh, no, that was terrible. 400? You could do 400 for sure. Surely you could do 400. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Oh, yeah. It's working. It's kind of slow. Look at that. Oh, amazing. We've done it, everybody. It's a winter wonderland. It's an absolute blizzard on the screen. It's working pretty good. Pretty good. And that's, you know, there's a lot of optimization to do. And when you're building any big system like this, there's lots we can do to speed it up. But that was pretty darn cool. So if you can't see, just type blindly, say CLEAR, enter, and then hopefully you'll get a screen back. And the escape key is how you exit out of a running program. So I think I'm pretty happy with this. This went so much better than I thought it was going to go, everybody. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So let me just show you the program real quick. You can type it in yourself. If you do not have to understand this. I think high schoolers probably could pick through these lines of code and figure out what I was doing. But, you know, you do not have to understand what this program does in order to type it in, right? And that's sort of the point of Club Compy. It's like, let's just have fun, man. This is, if you're learning, great. If not, you're making cool stars on the screen that spin. So relax. Don't feel bad if you don't understand all this stuff. Make it your life's mission to figure it out, whatever. But, don't worry about it. Just type it in and have fun. And, I think we're going to do games here coming up. We're going to try doing, I want to do joystick control. I really like playing with joysticks. Club Compy has joystick support, so I'll show that off maybe next week. We'll see. But we're in bonus time. I'm going to sign off. But I have another chapter of Under Drake's Flag that I read, so I'll play that for you now. And read along with it. It's definitely a hard read. You can see I struggled as I went through and to just even pronounce some of the words, so much less get the right intonation and stuff. So I hope you enjoy that. I'm really enjoying reading it. It's actually really fun. I've read it to my boys, and they've really gotten interested in it. So thanks again, and see you next week. Under Drake's Flag by G.A. Henty. Chapter 2. Friends and Foes. 3 days after the receipt of the letter, Ned Hearn stood with his bundle on the quay at Plymouth. Near him lay a large rowboat from the ships, waiting to take off the last comers. A little way behind, Captain Francis Drake and his brother, Captain John Drake, talked with the notable people of Plymouth, who had come down to bid them farewell, the more since this was a holiday, being Whitsun Eve, the 24th May, and all in the town who could spare time had made their way down to the Hove to watch the departure of the expedition. For none could say how famous this might become, or how great deeds would be accomplished by the two little craft lying there. Each looker-on thought to himself that it might be that, to the end of his life, he should tell his children and his children's children with pride, "I saw Mr. Drake start for his great voyage." Small indeed did the fleet appear in comparison to the work it had to do. It was composed of but 2 vessels. The first, the Pasha, of 70 tons, carrying 47 men and boys, was commanded by Captain Francis Drake himself. By her side was the Swan, of 25 tons, carrying 26 men and boys, and commanded by Captain John Drake. This was truly but a small affair to undertake so great a voyage. In those days, the Spaniards were masters of the whole of South America and of the Isles of the West Indies. They had many very large towns full of troops, and great fleets armed to carry the treasure which was collected there to Spain. It did seem almost like an act of madness that 2 vessels, which, by the side of those of the Spaniards, were mere cockle-shells, manned in all by less than 80 men, should attempt to enter a region where they would be regarded, and rightly, as enemies, and where the hand of every man would be against them. Captain Drake and his men thought little of these things. The success which had attended their predecessors had inspired the English sailors with a belief in their own invincibility when opposed to the Spaniards. They looked to a certain extent upon their mission as a crusade. In those days, England had a horror of popery, and Spain was the mainstay and supporter of this religion. The escape which England had had of having popery forced upon it during the reign of Mary by her spouse, Philip of Spain, had been a narrow one, and even now it was by no means certain that Spain would not sooner or later endeavor to carry out the pretensions of the late Queen's husband. Then, too, terrible tales had come of the sufferings of the Indians at the hands of the Spaniards, and it was certain that the English sailors who had fallen into the hands of Spain had been put to death with horrible cruelty. Thus, then, the English sailors regarded the Spaniards as the enemy of their country, as the enemy of their religion, and as the enemy of humanity. Besides which, it cannot be denied that they viewed them as rich men well worth plundering, and although, when it came to fighting, it is probable that hatred overbore the thought of gain, it is certain that the desire for gold was in itself the main incentive to those who sailed upon these expeditions. Amid the cheers of the townfolk, the boats pushed off, Mr. Francis Drake and his brother waving their plumed hats to the burghers of Plymouth, and the sailors giving a hurrah as they bent the oars. Ned Hearn, who had received a kind word of greeting from Mr. Drake, had taken his place in the bow of one of the boats, lost in admiration at the scene, and at the thought that he was one of this band of heroes who were going out to fight the Spaniards, and to return laden with countless treasure wrested from them. At the thought his eyes sparkled, his blood seemed to dance through his veins. The Western Main in those days was a name almost of enchantment. Such strange tales had been brought home by the voyagers who had navigated those seas, of the wonderful trees, the bright birds, the beauties of nature, the gold and silver, and the abundance of all precious things, that it was the dream of every youngster on the seaboard some day to penetrate to these charmed regions. A week since, and the realization of the dream had appeared beyond his wildest hopes. Now, almost with the suddenness of a transformation scene, this had changed, and there was he on his way out to the Swan, a part of the expedition itself. It was to the Swan that he had been allotted, for it was on board that ship that the boy whose place he was to take had been seized with illness. Although but 25 tons in burden, the Swan made a far greater show than would be made by a craft of that size in the present day. The ships of the time lay but lightly on the water, while their hulls were carried up to a prodigious height, and it is not too much to say that the portion of the Swan above water was fully as large as the hull which we see of a merchantman of 4 times her tonnage. Still, even so, it was but a tiny craft to cross the Atlantic, and former voyages had been generally made in larger ships. Mr. Francis Drake, however, knew what he was about. He considered that large ships required large crews to be left behind to defend them, that they drew more water and were less handy, and he resolved in this expedition he would do no small part of his work with pinnaces and rowboats, and of these he had 3 fine craft now lying in pieces in his hold, ready to fit together on arriving in the Indies. As they neared the ships, the 2 boats separated, and Ned soon found himself alongside the Swan. A ladder hung at her side, and up this Ned followed his captain, for in those days the strict etiquette that the highest goes last had not been instituted. "Master Holyoke," said Mr. John Drake to a big and powerful-looking man standing near, "this is the new lad, whose skill in swimming and whose courage I told you of yesternight. He will, I doubt not, be found as willing as he is brave, and I trust that you will put him in the way of learning his business as a sailor. It is his first voyage. He comes on board a green hand, but I doubt not that ere the voyage will be finished, he will have become a smart young sailor." "I will put him through," John Holyoke, sailing master of the ship, replied, for in those days the sailing master was the navigator of the ship, and the captain was, as often as not, a soldier who knew nothing whatever about seamanship. The one sailed the ship, the other fought it, and the admirals in those days were more frequently known as generals, and held that position on shore. As Ned looked round the deck, he thought that he had never seen a finer set of sailors. All were picked men, hardy and experienced, and for the most part young. Some had made previous voyages to the West Indies, but the greater portion were new to that country. They looked the men on whom a captain could rely to the last, tall and stalwart, bronzed with the sun, and with a reckless and fearless expression about them which boded ill to any foes upon whom they might fall. Although Ned had never been to sea on a long voyage, he had sailed too often in the fishing boats of his native village to have any qualm of seasickness, or to feel in any degree like a new hand. He was, therefore, at once assigned to a place in duty. An hour later, the admiral, as Mr. Francis Drake was called, fired a gun, and the two vessels hoisted their broad sails and turned their heads from shore, and the crews of both ships gave a parting cheer as they turned their faces to the south. As Ned was not in the slightest degree either homesick or seasick, he at once fell to work, laughing and joking with the other boys, of whom there were 3 on board. He found that their duties consisted of bearing messages, of hauling any rope to which they were to fix themselves, and in receiving, with as good a face as might be, the various orders, to say nothing of the various kicks which might be bestowed upon them by all on board. At the same time, their cheerful countenances showed that these things which, when told, sounded a little terrible, were, in truth, in no way serious. Ned was the first shown where he was to sling his hammock, and how, where he was to get his food, and under whose orders he was specially to consider himself, the master for the present, taking him under his own charge. For the next 10 days, as the vessel sailed calmly along with a favoring wind, Ned had learned all the names of the ropes and sails, and their uses, could climb aloft and do his share of the work of the ship, and, if not yet a skilled sailor, was at least on the high road to become one. The master was pleased at his willingness and eagerness to oblige, and he soon became a great favorite of his. Between the 4 boys on the ship, a good feeling existed. All had been chosen as a special favor upon the recommendation of one or other of those in authority. Each of them had made up his mind that one of these days he too would command an expedition to the West Indies. Each thought the glory which he would attain. And although in the hearts of many of the elder men in the expedition the substantial benefits to be reaped stood higher than any ideas of glory or honor, to the lads, at least, pecuniary gain exercised no inducement whatever. They burned to see the strange country, and to gain some of the credit and glory which would, if the voyage was successful, attach to each member of the crew. All were full of fun, and took what came to them in the way of work so good-temperedly and cheerfully that the men soon ceased to give them work for work's sake. They were, too, a strong and well-built group of boys. Ned was by a full year the youngest, and by nigh a head the shortest of them, but his broad shoulders and sturdy build, and the strength acquired by long practice in swimming and rowing, made him their equal. There were, however, no quarrels among them, and their strength they agreed to use in alliance, if need be, should any of the crew make a dead set at one or other of them. For, even in an expedition like this, there must be some brutal as well as many brave men. There were assuredly 2 or 3 at least of those on board the Swan who might well be called brutal. They were for the most part old hands, who had lived on board ship half their lives, had taken part in the slave traffic of Captain Hawkins, and in the buccaneering exploits of the earliest commanders. To them, the voyage was one in which the lust of gold was the sole stimulant, and, accustomed to deeds of bloodshed, what feelings they ever had become utterly blunted, and they needed but the power to become despotic and brutal masters. The chief among these was Giles Taunton, the armorer. He was a swarthy ruffian who hid behind the guise of a jovial bonhomme, a cruel and unfeeling nature. He was ever ready to cuff and beat the boys on the smallest provocation. They soon gathered together in a sort of defensive league against their common oppressors. All 4 were high-spirited lads. The other 3, indeed, were sons of men of substance in Devon, whose fathers had lent funds to Captain Drake for the carrying out of his great enterprise. They, therefore, looked but ill on the kicks and curses which occasionally fell to their lot. One day they gathered together round the bowsprit, and talked over what they should do. Gerald Summers, the eldest of the party, proposed that they should go in a body to Captain Drake and complain of the tyranny to which they were subject. After some talk, however, all agreed that such a course as this would lower them in the estimation of the men, and that it would be better to put up with the ill treatment than to get the name of telltales. Ned then said to the others, "It seems to me that if we do but hold together, we need not be afraid of this big bully. If we all declare to each other and swear that the first time he strikes one of us, we will all set upon him, my faith on it, we shall be able to master him, big as he is. We are all of good size, and in 2 years will think ourselves men. Therefore, it would be shame indeed if the 4 of us could not master one, however big and sturdy he may be." After much consultation, it was agreed that this course should be adopted, and the next day, as Reuben Gale was passing by Giles, he turned round and struck him on the head with a broom. The boy gave a long whistle, and in a moment, to the astonishment of the armorer, the other 3 lads rushed up and at once assailed him with fury. Astonished at such an attack, he struck out at them with many strange oaths. Gerald he knocked down, but Ned leaped on his back from behind, and the other 2, closing with him, rolled him on to the deck. Then, despite of his efforts, they pummeled him until his face was swollen and bruised, and his eyes nearly closed. Some of the men of his own sort, standing by, would fain have interfered, but the better disposed of the crew, who had seen with disgust the conduct of the armorer and his mates to the boys, held them back and said that none should come between. Just as the boys drew off and allowed the furious armorer to rise to his feet, Captain John Drake, attracted by the unusual noise, came from his cabin. "What is this?" he asked.
"These young wildcats have leapt upon me," said Giles Taunton furiously, "and have beaten me nigh to death. But I will have my turn. They will see, and bitterly they have cause to regret what they have done."
"We have been driven almost weary of our lives, sir, with the foul and rough conduct of this man and of some of his mates," Gerald said. "We did not like to come to tell you of it, and to gain the name of Carry-tales, but we had resolved among ourselves at last that whoever struck one of us, the whole should set upon him. Today we have carried it out, and we have shown Giles Taunton that we are more than a match for one man at any rate."
"4 good-sized dogs, if they are well managed," said Captain John Drake, "will pull down a lion, and the best thing that the lion can do is to leave them alone. I am sorry to hear, Master Taunton, that you have chosen to ill-treat these lads, who are indeed the sons of worthy men, and are not the common kind of ship-boys. I am sure that my brother would not brook such conduct, and I warn you that if any complaint again on this head reaches me, I shall lay it before him." With angry mutterings, the armorer went below. "We have earned a bitter foe," Ned said to his friends, "and we had best keep our eyes well open. There is very little of the lion about Master Taunton. He is strong indeed, but if it be true that the lion has a noble heart and fights his foes openly, methinks he resembles rather the tiger, who is prone to leap suddenly upon his enemies." "Yes, indeed, he looked dark enough," Gerald said, as he went below, "and it looks he could have killed us. We should not be standing here alive at present. It is not force that we need fear now, but that he will do us some foul turn. At all events, we are now forewarned, and if he plays us a scurvy trick, it will be our own faults." For several days the voyage went on quietly and without adventure. They passed at a distance the Portuguese Isle of Madeira, lying like a cloud on the sea. The weather now had become warm and very fair. A steady wind blew, and the 2 barks kept along at a good pace. All sorts of creatures strange to the boys were to be seen in the sea.
Sometimes there was a spout of a distant wail. Thousands of flying fish darted from the water, driven thence by the pursuit of their enemies beneath, while huge flocks of gulls and other birds hovered over the sea, chasing the flying fish or pouncing down upon the shoals of small fry whose splashings whitened the surface of the water as if a sandbank had laid below it. Gradually, as the time went on, the heat increased. Many of the crew found themselves unable to sleep below, for in those days there was but little thought of ventilation. The boys were among these, for the heat and the confinement were to them especially irksome. One day the wind had fallen almost to a calm, and the small boat had been lowered to enable the carpenter to do some repair to the ship's side, where a seam leaked somewhat when the waves were high. When night came on and all was quiet, Ned proposed to the others that they should slip down the rope over the stern into the boat which was towing behind, where they could sleep undisturbed by the tramp of the sentry or the call to pull at ropes and trim sails. The idea was considered a capital one, and the boys slid down the boat, where, taking up their quarters as comfortably as they could, they, after a short chat, curled themselves up and were soon sound asleep, intending to be on board again with the earliest gleam of morn. When they awake, however, it was with a start and a cry. The sun was already high, but there were no signs whatever of the ship. They floated alone in the mid-ocean. With blank amazement, they looked at each other. "This is a stroke of misfortune indeed," Gerald said. "We have lost the ship, and I fear our lives as well. What do you say, Otter?" For the lad's nickname had come on board ship with him, and he was generally known by it. "It seems to me," said Ned, "that our friend the armorer has done us this bad turn. I am sure that the rope was well tied, for I was the first who slipped down it, and I looked at the knot well before I went over the side, and I trusted my weight to it. He must have seen us, and as soon as he thought we were fairly asleep, he must have loosened the knot and cast us adrift. What on earth is to be done now?" "I should think," Gerald said, "that it will not be long before the ship comes back for us. The boat is sure to be missed in the morning, for the carpenter will be wanting it to go over the side. We too will be missed, for the captain will be wanting his flagon of wine soon after the day has dawned." "But think you," Tom Tressella said, "that the captain will turn back on his voyage for us?" "Of that I think there is no doubt," Gerald said. "The only question is as to the finding us. But I should say that of that there is little fear. The wind is light, the ship was not making fast through the water, and will not be more than 50 miles at most away when she turns on her heel and comes to look for us. I expect that Master Taunton knew well enough that we should be picked up again, but he guessed that the Admiral would not be pleased at losing a day by our freak, and that the matter is not likely to improve the favor in which we may stand with him and his brother." A beautiful woodcut here. It's titled "Alone in Mid-Ocean," and it features Ned searching the horizon in his little boat, and the other boys sitting looking very sad and very discouraged. "It is going to be a terrible hot day," Ned said. "And with the sun above our heads and no shade, and not so much as a drop of water, the sooner we are picked up, the more pleasant it will be, even if we all get a touch of the rope's end for our exploit." All day the boys watched anxiously. Once they saw the two vessels sailing backward on their track, but the current had drifted the boat, and the ships passed fully 8 miles away to windward of them, and thus without seeing them. This caused the boys, courageous as they were, almost to despair. "If," argued Gerald, "they pass us in the daylight, our chance is small indeed that they will find us at night. They will doubtless sail back till dusk, and then judge that they have missed us, or that we have in some way sunk. Then, putting their heads to the west, they will continue their voyage. If we had oars or a sail, we might make a shift to pull the boat into the track they are following, which would give us a chance of being picked up when they again turn west. But as we have neither one nor the other, we are helpless indeed." "I do not think," Ned said, "that Captain John or his brother are the men to leave us without a great effort, and methinks that when they have sailed over the ground to the point where at the utmost we must have parted from them, they will lay by through the night and search back again tomorrow." And so it proved. On the morrow, about midday, the boys beheld one of the ships coming up nearly in a line behind them, while the other, some 6 miles away to leeward, was keeping abreast of her. "They are quartering the ground like hounds," Gerald said, "and thanks to their care and thoughtfulness, we are saved this time." By the time that, 3 hours later, the ship, which was the Pasha, came alongside, the boys were suffering terribly from the heat and thirst. For 36 hours no drop of water had passed their lips, and the sun had blazed down upon them with terrible force. Therefore, when the vessel hauled her course and laid by for a boat to be lowered to pick them up, their plight was so bad a one that Captain Francis, although sorely vexed at having lost near 2 days of his voyage, yet felt that they had been amply punished for their escapade.